Hi guys, it's Rebecca. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. Today's video is going to be my August reading wrap up. I had a really good month this month. Well, like in the amounts of books that I read, there were some books that I didn't enjoy like quite as much as I would have liked. And it shocked me because they're actually kind of popular books. So there is that. You know, it just goes to show that everybody has their own taste. Don't fall for the hype. You like what you like. Don't be forced to like what everybody else likes. Anyway, I read a lot of like small books, like in size, like you have your standard size books, and then you have like your mass market paperback, and then others that are smaller. So sorry, I got distracted. So yeah, I'm gonna start talking about it with the books that are right here on top first. So no particular order. It's just the first book that was on top. So the first one that I read was from one of my favorite cozy mystery authors, Jen McKinley, and this is Red Velvet Revenge. If I'm correct, this is book 4 of the Cupcake Bakery mystery series. I really love her library or book lovers, something like that, mystery. Those are, God, I think there's book 13 or 14 is out already. I'm all caught up with that one, but I found out that she had a mystery setting around the bakery setting. That sounds weird. I found out that she had a book series set in a bakery setting, and I picked it up, and like I said, this is the 4th book. It's called Red Velvet Revenge. I don't even know if I said it, but in this book we follow our main character, Melanie, and her partner in the bakery business, Angie, and they decide to go take on the rodeo. They decide to set up a booth on the rodeo, and so I kind of forgot this was a mystery, like a cozy mystery book, because they're very centered on to them trying to do good during this rodeo setup, and there's kind of like a silent competition with this like barbecue tent that they're like, well, you're never gonna sell cupcakes here. This is a rodeo. You know, barbecue meats. This is what people like. So they have a little competition to see who makes more money at the end of the competition, and then there's a little gag that the losing team has to do if they lose. But anyway, during the whole competition of trying to see who can make the more money, there's obviously a murder that happens at the rodeo, and instead of having the police investigate it, of course, our bakery people decide to do the investigating or meddle in the investigation to find out who committed the crime. So fun read. Her books read really fast. They're super entertaining, and I love them. I have book 6. I have to get book 5 just because I hate reading books out of order. So I have a gift card from Barnes & Noble, so I'm definitely going to pick up book 5 in the series and see how much I enjoy that. But I love this one. 4 out of 5 stars. Next, I read How to Walk Away by Catherine Zenner. I was kind of scared to read this book because I somehow have accumulated like 4 or 5 Catherine Zenner books without having read a single one of them, just because I generally hear good things about them. But then I had heard really not bad things, but pretty meh things about this book in particular, so I was really concerned about it. But in this book we follow our main character, Margaret, who seems to have it all together. She is recently engaged, and then she suffers an accident, and so her whole life turns upside down after this accident. So she has to figure out if she's gonna want to fight for her life and what she has accomplished. And sorry, dog issues over here. If she wants to fight for what she has accomplished, or just give up and feel sorry for herself and let her life fall apart. This was kind of it's a touching story. Women's fiction. It says here really wryly funny, but I didn't think it was that funny. Maybe I chuckled here and there, but if you like Jojo Moyes, the girl who wrote oh my gosh, Me Before You. If you like her books, I think you'll like this book. I am excited to read the rest of the Catherine Zenner books that I have. 4 out of 5 stars out of this book. Then I read the final 3 books in the Codex Alera series. I read book 4, which is Captain's Fury, books 5, Princeps Fury, and book 6, which is First Lord's Fury. Books 3, 4, and no, 4, 5, and 6 of the Codex Alera. There are 6 books by Jim Butcher. I obviously can't tell you much about these 3 books because it's the second half of the series and it's spoilers galore. But just know that this series is full of action. The first 2 books, and they're big books, okay? These 2 books, I feel like I read super, super fast, action-packed, really fast-paced, like one thing after another. Like I was never bored, but they are very big books. I gave these 2 4 out of 5 stars. Then I don't know if, you know, I try not to read like big fantasy books like this back to back because it takes so much of my brain energy to focus on what's happening, because these aren't books that you can just, you know, lightly read. These are books that you really have to pay attention because they're high fantasy and they're adult high fantasy. So at least for me, I really have to pay attention to them. So I was pretty tired when I read these, when I finished these 2. And I started reading, I read these 2 back to back, but then I picked up some other stuff and I was like, I have 1 book left. Let me just push through it. And I ended up reading the last book. As you guys can see, the last book is significantly bigger than the other 2. But I liked it. I liked how the story ended, but I feel like because I was forcing myself to finish it just for the sake of finishing the series, I didn't enjoy it quite as much as I did this. So I gave this one 3.5 stars. The whole series as a whole is a solid 4, maybe a 4.5. I enjoyed how we see our main character Tabby go from a young teenager who's, you know, a kid who's 13 years old with no experience, no furies or powers, as they're called in this series, with everything stacked against him, and how he becomes a strong man. This goes, I think he's like in his mid-20s by the time this series is finished. So we see him grow as a man, as a person, as a warrior, as a soldier. Super, super entertaining series. If you guys are into high fantasy, I highly recommend this series. I know Jim Butcher has another series. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. I can't remember, or maybe I'm confusing it with somebody else. But I thought he had another series, but the books are a lot smaller. Forget what I said. I don't remember. But I enjoyed these books and I do recommend them if you like high fantasy. Then I finished another trilogy. This is a children's trilogy, middle grade maybe. But this is the Endling series or trilogy by Catherine Applegate. Book 1, you have The Last. Book 2, you have The First. And book 3, you have The Only. And it's interesting that the first book is the biggest one, and then the middle one is the middle biggest, and then the last one is the shortest one. So I feel like the first one, I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. Well, like 3.5 as a whole, the series as a whole. Really, really enjoyed the first book. And in this trilogy, we follow our main character, Binks, who is this kind of dog wolf type thing. They can walk. She is the last of her kind. Like her whole species has been eradicated by the hunters and the evil people. And she meets, what is the name of her friend? Tobble. I think that this little creature right here is, I think his name is Tobble. Is that his name? Yes, Tobble. And they go on a quest because it seems that she is not the only one left of her kind. The Endling means being the last of the kind. She was kind of like the runt of the family, the smallest one, the youngest one, the weakest one growing up. So she has like all these things kind of stacked up against her mentally. She's always felt less than. So with the help of her friends and some other, with Tobble and other friends that she makes throughout her journey into finding the rest of her species, she discovers that she's a lot stronger than she is. I really enjoyed it. As you guys can see, this was a lot bigger because I feel like she was doing a lot of world building, and then the books got smaller because she didn't care to fill it up with fluff to make it as big as this book, which I appreciate. You know, there are a lot of times that authors make books so long where you're like, oh, this could have been 100 pages shorter. So I appreciate she didn't make them long for just the sake of all being the same length. She wrote the one and only Ivan, the one and only Ruby, the one and only Oscar, which I love. Well, I haven't read the one and only Oscar. I've read the one and only Ruby and the one and only Ivan. I cried with both of them. I was hoping I would have the same like emotional attachment to these books, but I didn't. But I still enjoyed them. Middle grade books. I highly recommend if you have kids, maybe, that you would like to recommend books to. I think these are good. Then I read The Daughter of Time by Josephine Tay. Apparently this is a book in a series. I think it's like book 5 or 6, something like that. But in this book, we follow our Inspector Alan Grant of Scotland, and he's kind of investigating the death of the Princess in the Tower. If you guys remember from English history, many years ago, like in the 1500s, was it? When the House of Lancaster and the House of York were at battle for the throne. This kind of gives you like a really condensed history of what happened between the Battle of the Roses, and then how King Richard fell in love with Elizabeth Grey, I think that was her name, and they got married, and then they had kids, but then the other claim to the throne came, and then he died, and then they were trying to kill all his offspring to make sure that they had no legitimate claim to the throne. And this was just so much fun. Like, I give it 5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed like a historical fiction, specifically when it comes to the War of the Roses and the Tudor era. Highly recommend if you guys enjoy, you know, that era in the English history. And it's a tiny book, and it's just super interesting. Had a lot of fun reading it. Highly recommend. Then, ironically enough, the last 2 books that I have here are my 2 duds for this week. For this month, and don't get mad at me, but the first one is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baltree. You guys, I started off enjoying this book. I did. I'm not gonna lie. We follow our main character, an ogre named Viv, who decides to open up a coffee shop, and it was really fun to see how she was trying to sell people the idea of drinking coffee and relaxing at a coffee house and just chit-chatting, and then seeing gradually how the menu progressed from just coffee to like coffee and lattes, and then coffee, lattes, and pastries, and little things like that. So I was having a lot of fun until the romance came into this book's life. I thought the romance was just, it's not my cup of tea. The kind of romance that was in here, it felt forced, and I just didn't care for it. So I gave it 3 stars because I enjoyed it so much. The romance doesn't start until it has a cough around here, my goodness. The romance doesn't start till like very late in the book, which is, I'm glad that it didn't ruin it like by starting it at the beginning. But yeah, I gave it 3 stars because, like I said, I enjoyed it at the beginning, but it's not a book that I will continue on. I know it's a series, but I was kind of let down by it. And the last book that I finished was Down to You by M-Layton. I don't know. This is a new adult romance story, and we follow our main character Olivia, who has to move back home to help her dad with some stuff, and she ends up getting a job at this bar. Kind of has a thing going on for the owner of the bar, and then she realizes that he has a twin, love triangle between the twins and her. And I just didn't care for her. Like, she was so unlikable. One of the twins is her cousin's boyfriend, and she still went ahead and did stuff with him, even though she knew it's her cousin's boyfriend. And then the plot twist at the end was so stupid. I was just like rolling my eyes back so hard. I give this 2 out of 5 stars. You guys know I hardly ever give 2s. Like, just by reading it and finishing a book, the book gets 3 stars. But no, this book is so dumb. Don't recommend it. Don't read it. Don't waste your time. Even though it's a small, short book, don't waste your time. This is not worth it. Stupid romance, stupid characters, stupid plot twists. Don't read it. And there you have it, guys. Those are the books that I read for the month of August. I hope you guys enjoyed. I already finished 1 book in September, and I'm already on my 2nd book. So we'll see how many books I can read. This weekend is Labor Day, so I should have some time to get a book or 2. Well, definitely the 2nd book finished, and hopefully another book before I go back to work. And then I go on vacation next weekend. So I'll have even more free time to hopefully read a few more books than I usually do. So anyway, that's all I have for you guys now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.